Hello, my name is Ava Kinzer. My birthday is October 30th, 2007, and this is why I can't wait to be 19.
It all started when I was born in Princeton, West Virginia, a small town up in the mountains. My now deceased father was a very sick man. He abused my family not only physically, verbally, sexually, mentally, and he was in the U.S. Army, so we were a military family, and a lot of his buddies would cover up for him, and he never really got in trouble growing up. Ever since I was little, the slaps, punches, kicks, yelling, insults, name-calling, degrading, and that just tore me into I am nothing but what others think of me. My mother was nice until I was about 9. I'm not sure why, but this is how I remember it at least. She would always take her anger out on me, not physically. She would never hit me. And mentally, emotionally. I have an older brother that I no longer have a relationship with. My father started sexually abusing me from ages 5 until 10. I said nothing. I knew it wasn't normal. I didn't like it, but I thought it was good. So being a military brat in a military family, my father was in the U.S. Army, so I ended up moving around a lot. I was born in West Virginia, and we moved over to Georgia. I lived in Columbus, Georgia, Atlanta, and Fortson, Georgia. That's around when my parents, in Fortson, Georgia, when they started to get the divorce. The divorce didn't finalize until I was in Galion, Ohio, from 2015 to 2017 when I was in Texas. Dallas, Louisville, San Antonio. He had visitation rights, over the summer I was alone. The whole summer I became his personal slave, basically. I have a flat head because of all this. So parents divorce, and, we live in Texas, and my mom had a boyfriend, they didn't work out. We jump up to Galion, Ohio. I hated middle school. It was really rough. I've always been fat, chubby, tall, the biggest of my class, have ugly teeth, So I got bullied a lot, for my weight and height and all that. And my mental health just died. I already had severe anxiety, and then here just came the depression in middle school. And then the suicidal thoughts, all my suicide attempts, I remember each time the first one was 11, 12, 15, and 18. I went to middle school in the 2017 to 2019, 2020 era. So I really loved makeup. It made me feel pretty, and I got told I looked good when I had it on. So I would do my makeup, and I got really fucking good at it because I also enjoy doing it. It's really cool. It's an art form. I always, wanted to be an artist, and then in middle school I wanted to do makeup and hair as a job. I found that. Oh boy, when I found out when there was a school for this shit, are you kidding me? My mom, met my stepdad in Galion, Ohio, 8th grade year. That summer we pack up and move up to Bryan, Ohio. I'm 15, about to start 9th grade freshman year. I was so used to moving around, but it didn't make it any easier each time. I remember meeting some caring, loving, honest people in high school. I started hanging out with the stoners, man, because I was like, dude, these people are chill as fuck. Started smoking weed at 15, 9th grade. A few months later, I got some weed. It was laced with meth. I was unaware. I keep smoking it until about almost, 2023. So that's a year. I was smoking laced marijuana that had crystal meth in it. But people around me would ask me, what's wrong with you? Because when I didn't have my weed, I was angry, agitated. Everything pissed me off. I thought it was just, man, I need my weed. You're pissing me off. I became violent. Kept smoking, I became violent. I'm at driving school. I come home from school. It's my mother. She went in my room. She fucking found all my weed, my vapes, and my trap phone. because it wasn't there. Feeling so much rage towards everything. It was like, I'm gonna die and everyone else is. We all gonna die today. I didn't give a fuck. With a feel of rage. Put chemicals that could permanently burn and blind my mother in her shampoo and conditioner. I go to school. It's about 11, you know. I text her a detailed, descriptive list of everything I did. Because something in my gut was like, what the fuck? And I kept envisioning her just being hurt, and I was like, nope, this was a mistake. 15 minutes later go by. The fucking sheriff of Bryan comes and takes me to the principal's office. I know why. In the office, in the lobby, I see my mother waiting with a blank look of just a dead stare, like she's in a better place mentally. I proceeded to walk into my mother's car with the sheriff following behind us to go to the ER, then to be drug tested. They told me, what are you gonna pop positive for? I said, weed and nicotine, of course. I was like, yep. Weed and nicotine. Anything else you want to tell us about? I said, no, why? They go, there is such high dosage that shows there's long-term usage of methamphetamine in your system. It felt like my heart, brain, and guts exploded in my fucking face. What? I get a mental evaluation. They declare I am homicidal. They send me to the psych ward. I sit there and I detox and withdraw alone. It felt like I had flu, COVID. I remember thinking there as I'm shivering as it's storming outside in that hospital bed, I'm never touching meth again. I am not this person. What did I do? This isn't me. Now, I'm almost 3 years sober. September 30th, 2026 will be 3 years clean off of crystal meth. No relapses, no rehab. Just, I get out of the psych ward, you know? Nothing. I was like, fuck this. I don't care anymore. And that's how I got my first charge. Felonious assault at 16. I was then released on probation. I then go to the same jail 5 more times. 4 for failing nicotine tests. And then the last and final time from June 9th, 2025 all the way until November 15th, 2025. Oh yes, a good solid 6 months. I was a prostitute. I had a trap phone, of course. I would do anything for some weed, alcohol, cigarettes, vapes, even food at times, gifts, clothes, whatever. While I was 15, addicted to dope that I didn't even know I was smoking, you know. And then when I was 16, I still did it all the way until I was 17. June 9th is the day I stopped. I knew I was going to jail. Because prostituting's all funny games until it's not, you know? I've been beaten. People have locked their cars and have abandoned me places. And I've almost died twice with people reckless driving because I wasn't complying while being a full-time high school student, you know? And I got accepted into Fort County for cosmetology while being a prostitute in and out of jail. I graduated in jail my senior year. I spent a lot of time in jail. Those COs were more family than my own fucking family, if I think about it. I remember just sitting there before I get released. They told me November 15th was my release date. I'm sitting on the phone. My mother and stepfather repeatedly told me how they don't want anything to do with me. I'm not welcome to their home, and I have to figure it the fuck out. My PO released me to them. I paid for a storage unit of my own money. I told my mom over the phone to pay for it with money I'd saved up. Secretly in my head, I said 6 months I'll have something. 6 months. Give me 6 months and I'll change my life. I get released. My mother picks me up. I change it in my dirty clothes that smell of fucking blood and just all the smells of a fucking whore. Perfume, blood, cigarette smoke. I walk out the fucking bar, the gates. They close behind my mom as she's pulling out. They lecture me on the way to my storage unit. They drop me off there for 2 hours. They leave. I pack a bag of hygiene clothes. They came back and said, you have one location. You can choose. I chose the Walmart parking lot in Bryan, Ohio. I had money for a phone, service, and AirPods, and a little left over for some food. Aged out, off probation, and homeless. I couch surfed a lot. I did that for a while. Some of the men that I prostituted for would let me crash there. I knew I was gonna die. if I continue that life. So I went and stayed with one of my friends and her mother, which I'm grateful for and I very much appreciate, for about 3 weeks, and there wasn't enough room, so I ended up moving in with her grandma. It was a stressful, hard time in my life. The grandma and I didn't end up working out, so she leaves, storms out. 15 minutes later, she's pouring all this shit out of her car. I go to the side of the street, outside in the front steps of the welfare office. It's all of my shit that I had. I look at them and say, like, where the fuck do I go? I get accepted into the homeless shelter here. I met some people, and it was a very conservative religious homeless shelter. So was the church next door. You started drama, you were kicked out. You pissed off certain people, they would make up a reason to kick you out. I was taken advantage of at that shelter by multiple people. I had nowhere to go. I'm not going to name his name. Busted my lip for saying no. I met him, gave him my phone number. Which, that's when life hit me real fast. Punches my lip, bust it. I didn't tell anybody. I covered it up because it was also wintertime, I didn't have anything. I had a big breakfast hoodie that I wore. I didn't have anything. I learned to stay silent. I learned from an early age that if you're gonna want to live, you're gonna have to fight. You're gonna have to fight to live or die fucking trying. I don't understand. I go on a walk, the 35-year-old man, walks behind me. I couldn't afford anything, no pepper spray or nothing. I hear, a sound, and I remember saying, what the fuck are you doing? And he pushes me up against this fucking concrete wall. Maybe it was brick, I don't know, it was dark out. Chokes me. And starts to reach in my pants. First, I start to fight back, pushing him off. He's choking me, that's okay. I've been choked before by my father. The goal is don't try to breathe really fast because you'll pass out quicker. And I get my other arm and I finally push him the fuck off. And I walked quickly where there were cameras, back to my room at the shelter, showered, said nothing. While I was at the shelter, I worked at a little factory up here in Bryan, where I met, my now fiance, David, who was giving me rides to and from work. I always felt safe with him. I moved out of the shelter by choice through the toxic roommates who would take all my money, steal. Motherfucker, I was trying to survive. And I managed to do it. I was fired, from the factory on February 19th, so I was already just job hunting and bumming it. At the church next door to the homeless shelter, sleeping on the floor, concrete floor, and which I fucking hated it. I asked Dave if I could come over. March 1st, I do. We ended up having a great night, talking, laughing, getting to know each other, spend the night. I wake up March 2nd. I spend the night again, March 3rd. I wake up. I asked David, what time do you want me to go back? He said, you don't really have to go back there. I said, what? He goes, you can move in with me. Because while I was homeless, I was never sober. Oh, I was so depressed. I almost died physically and mentally multiple times alone. Nobody talked to me. I go to the church. I gather my shit. I tell them goodbye. And I walk out. So I don't have a relationship with my bigger brother. Or my stepdad. Or my mother. My father's dead. I remember being told this by my mother in jail face to face. I said, thank fucking God.
Now I can't wait to be 19.